require the solace of the shadows and the dark of the night. Sunshine is my destroyer. There shall never be another dawn. Looking upon these frail creatures, one would not think that they could contain such power. One could rule the universe with it. You must find them for me and destroy them.
Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still shining brightly through the sycamores for me. The new morn hay sends all its fragrance through the fields that I used to know, because when I dream about the moonlight on the Wabash, I know I'm at my Indiana home. This is a beautiful track. This is a beautiful place on the essence of 16th Street and Georgetown. It is the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the final round of the Crest Autosport iRacing IndyCar series, and it is bumper field. It is stacked today around this 2.5 miler that gives absolutely everything and a little bit more in terms of what action is going into play. Everyone is here looking for as much of an opportunity as they can. A lot of drivers targeting a beautiful, beautiful plaque for victory here today. I'm Jake Sparey, bringing you along with William Foyle for the ride on the cameras here today. This series, of course, your Crest Autosport iRacing IndyCar series, is brought to you by Apex Tracks, the motorsport and motor racing circuit wall art racetrack sculpture designers who manufacture their products using Formula One and motorsport-inspired rapid prototyping technologies. That goes alongside Track Racer, 603 Autosport, lovely stickers, digital motorsport, eSport Sim, and the GP box here on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch. Welcome along to the party. Like, follow, subscribe, whatever you need to do on whatever platform that you are watching us from here today at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's a 100, not necessarily a 500, so you got to take off 4/5 of what a normal distance is, and it's a pure sprint, so it's going to be a very alert challenge. It's 100 laps that they'll be taking themselves through here today. And everybody knows that it's going to be all about what you can do early in terms of the battle. The series and the championship will be all about prizes, which will be provided by Apex Track. And the winner of today's race will be also getting themselves a beautiful, beautiful plaque prize. And of course, the winner of the championship will get a sculpture of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway to pin up on their driver's wall. And that is all provided by Uncle Luke's sign and sticker shop. So, we got qualifying coming up. We've got the racing going through. But let's move over to the standings as we come into this final round. As we know it's championships at the moment. Thijs Barendregt has control at this point in time overall. He sits himself on 229 points. Alex Everett behind him, 215 points. The gap is 14 points. It's a very simple game for Thijs Barendregt. Top 6 gets the championship done. And it is as simple as that. Points will be worked out lower down if Barendregt can't get it done today. But he has been a very consistent driver up near the front of the field compared to Everett, who's got more wins this season, but has been a little bit more inconsistent as things go. Should be clean for Dave Steadman and his fight for third position in the championship. And the ALP cars and Jeremy Pronk have a fight on their hands as they go for 4th, 5th and 6th overall in terms of the battlings here today. But let's get an understanding of where we are here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, a track which very much looks on paper like it's the easiest box that you've ever driven. But every single corner here of these 4 has its own unique challenge, which makes this place so difficult and has been raced for over 100 years in terms of the challenge. You can see going out of 2 as we focus on, I believe, Dave Steadman at this point in time, driving down towards 3 and 4. And this long run on the back stretch leads into 3. And the importance here of keeping yourself nice and neat, transferring over to 4, making sure you're staying on that low-line groove, just about avoiding the inside curb there and getting as much of a drive onto this front stretch. This is going to be a magical, magical bit of battling that we are going to be seeing out there on circuit here today. So, with that all in mind, let's keep an eye out on the conditions here, at least in practice for the moment, which has got about 30 seconds before we move over to what is 5 minutes of qualifying, 2 laps. Close qualifying here due to the numbers here, but it is 41 degrees track temperature. It's going to be a hot one, and this is going to be alerting a lot of drivers that they're going to be not necessarily dealing with temperatures the way that they would necessarily like. Practice means one thing. It's Ruben Simonite who has the control of qualifying as things go, or of practice, I should say, as things go over the moment, from Pablo Diaz and then Dave Steadman in 3rd position. But as we all know, qualifying is one thing and racing is the other, and they will have to worry about car 55, who hasn't set a time in practice. Tim Doyle is one of the very, very quick drivers when it comes to IndyCar running, so Tim Doyle might be someone to keep an eye out on over the course of qualifying today. They've got 2 laps to get themselves up to speed. They've got 5 minutes to do so, and this is the sort of place where you have to get up to speed quickly. It is going to take a couple laps to find the groove and work out what you need to do with qualifying set, and this should be the all-important challenge that everyone should be hoping for. Ollie Peters, one of the first then out on circuit, looking to go through the shoot of 2 and onto the circuit then out of 2, and moving towards turn number 3, I should say. And if there was any more of a time here in terms of an iRacing challenge to get everything sorted, he's got to be absolutely on it, getting the time sorted now. So here's where focus is going to be. You can see 6th gear on the limiter. You're going to be dealing with a lot. Some drivers will be flicking between 5th and 6th through these corners, but here is a lap of Indianapolis Motor Speedway with Ollie Peters moving into the very, very fast turn number 1. It's so easy to clobber the wall on the outside if you're not paying attention there. And in through 2, you stay low. There's a bump down there on the bottom. You've got to be careful about that. You'll spear yourself out into the right. And if you watch the Indianapolis 500 IR and L, you'll know that it's out of 2 where most of the troubles come along. Through into 3. This is a transfer style corner. Very similar to 1, but there are those unique differences that set up for 4. You can get the run through 4 perfect. You've got that run in the race to make that challenge on lap 100 and make that drag race for the yard of bricks. Over the line, first lap, 39.3 from Ollie Peters as he sets it up quite nicely. That's the first challenge then put in the books, but he's immediately beaten by the 93 of Matt Hummel, not to be confused with Matt Hummels of Borussia Dortmund at this point, and the Hums Esports car doing a really good job putting that first time up then on the top. And as it is, fixed setup here today, they know they're going to be alert in terms of how they get all of those times in on the board and put the laps together. Hummel making his way around now and getting that drive through 4 as he will now look to make that charge over towards the line. I do believe we are a little bit behind on where we need to be at this point in time, but Hummel over the yard of bricks goes on to a 39.385 at this point in time. But Pablo Diaz currently fastest, Stroh in 2nd, Pronk is in 3rd, and the challenge should be that for Jeremy Pronk, who definitely wants to move up in the championship. If he can get to 4th position, then that should be magical. And as we all know, magic definitely can happen and has happened over the course of races like these. And it could be so vital. Pronk getting close there. Alex Everett out there on screen right now. And this should be an important one here as he looks to qualify up and hasn't necessarily put a time yet down on the books. Neither has Thijs Barendregt. This is the first time we've seen Alex Everett out there. It's a 2:22 to start. That's 5th position. Tim Doyle goes 3rd fastest. And this should be all important here. Going through into this next section. Barendregt doing a good job coming through 1. And now looking to gear it up and put the first lap in. So it should be now, how do you get this all nicely sorted? Through towards 3 and 4. And the Dutchman looking to go the same way of Arie Luyendyk and pick up an Indianapolis 500 win to crown off what is a fantastic season. Dave Stedman's just jumped up 5th fastest out there on track. But Barendregt now will make that run for the line. Diego Pereño moving up to 4th. Barendregt goes 7th fastest, just ahead of Alex Everett on that opening lap. So certainly some good times working then in the early foray of his lap. But this second lap could be so very, very vital. Is this going to be where Barendregt brings himself together? A few drivers out there trying to get some times in. Fran Herrera as well out there on circuit. Nice to see him back. Stedman's going to come to the line and he's going to not improve in the hotter conditions. Pereño, we'll see whether that 179 can find a 0.5 of a second. And the answer for his time is no. Barendregt then goes to the point. And the point is he's lost a 10th. So clearly second laps, not as good as first laps out there. There was Diego Pereño, the Necky Racing Team car, out of laps out there. And everyone is done then with qualifying. And so when we go to our warm-up, we can run ourselves through the grid here today from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. What an important track this is in terms of the context of this sim racing season. And it is the 1-2-2 that has found it up on the front of the grid. It is Pablo Diaz who gets the Necky Racing Team car up there on top, with Tim Stroh there in 2nd and Tim Doyle in 3rd position, who could be a real threat today. Diego Pereño will go from 4th with Jeremy Pronk 5th and Dave Stedman in 6th position. And the 2 championship contenders are side by side. Thijs Barendregt and Alex Everett are 7th and 8th, respectively. It's then Ruben Simonite in 9th and Fran Herrera with a good qualifying rounding out the top 10. Ben Bennyworth will go from 11th along with Alfredo Morales and Jürgen Pedersen in 13th position. That follows Martin Kenyon and Matt Hummel with DL Lemon in 16th and Leonardo Paletta in 17th. Ollie Peters, Lars Petter Andersen and Logan Egan make up the top 20. And further down from that, you have Michael Poole in 21st, Nehen Flores in 22nd. And these are the drivers who did not set times, including Inigo Mardones, David Marquez, Lucas Derejki, and Alexander Rogenbach, making up the 26 drivers here today who will be taking to this racetrack and putting 100 laps on the book, seeing who's got what it takes to win at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Now, the key here to a 100-lap race at Indianapolis is going to be how long you can make tyres and fuel last. This is a 2 or a 3-stop race, depending at this point in time. Normally, you start thinking about ticking back. How many laps can you put in? How many cautions are there going to be in a race like this? With 26 drivers on the grid today, you can very easily find yourself with an issue here and there. Drivers know they do have an ability to get back in this race, though, if it does go wrong for these drivers, and that will be in the form of one fast repair, which is effectively your T-car, as you go around and try and put everything together on the books. If you've got that car, you get involved in an accident, you can get yourself back out and going. But crucially, there are no waiver rounds here in this Indy 500, or this Indy 100 as it will be known. Technically an Indy 250 with the length of laps that we'll be doing. And the crucial matter of fact is going to be simply this. If you get involved in an incident, try and get it back to pits as desperately as you can. And that will be one of the big keys we'll be keeping our focus on. Dave Stedman, though, is in 2nd position in practice at the moment, just being jumped down a little bit. But, you know, this is where you start targeting. Those outside the championship will be looking for that victory. And if you've got 26 drivers fighting for one spot on top, they know they want that traditional drink of milk at the end. And that could be so very, very vital to them. It'll be a huge boon in their cap going over towards the 2022 season of racing that we will get going forward. It is worth noting as well, we do have ourselves a bit of a brand new season coming along, and that will come along in 2022 with us here at Crest Autosport. And it will be a season which will start off at Homestead, Miami, over on the 25th of January. We'll go to Phoenix and Auto Club before the Milwaukee Mile, Kansas City, and then Long Beach, the first of 2 road races on the calendar, which includes Iowa, Kentucky, Laguna Seca, the second of them in late March, and then April, we'll see 3 rounds to finish it off. Gateway, Chicagoland, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, making up the 12-round calendar, which will finish off in the middle of April, just before that fabled month of May, and the Indianapolis 500 will be going along on iRacing. So a lot to look forward to in the not-too-distant future. And in terms of this, though, get racing sorted, put it all together, and if you can do all of those things correctly, then you will have yourself a wonderful challenge here at Indy to pretty much kick off a fantastic season and move on into the next. There is Tim Doyle out there at this point in time, car number 55, running as a privateer in an AJ Foyt car, looking to try and make that as much as possible happen here today. And this could be a real target for car 55 to put everything together on the books and make it all happen. Watch out for drivers locking it up as they come into the pits here. It's going to be a very difficult pit lane to jump in on as well. And with those yellow commitment cones where they are and trying to hit the brakes, you're going to be watching for a lot of drivers locking it up and spinning it coming into the pits. That could be a huge problem for drivers, especially if they get a speeding penalty going through into pit lane. So that could be a cause for concern. Expect the draft to be predictably strong here today, and you've got to stay in range. Checker flag, though, out in session. We're going to jump ourselves over towards the race and the gridding process. And once more, we will run ourselves through that grid once we get that, and how everyone is going to be lining up and starting this one. Pablo Diaz on the pole with Timothy Stroh and Tim Doyle second and third. Diego Pereño in fourth, and Jeremy Pronk is fifth. That follows Dave Steadman in sixth position with Thijs Barendregt and Alex Everett. And then Ruben Simonite and Fran Herrera round out the top 10. It then follows out with Ben Bennyworth and Alfredo Morales, Jürgen Pedersen and Martin Kenyon. Matt Hummel will go from 15th along with DL Lemon, with Leonardo Paletta and Ollie Peters 17th and 18th. Lars Petter Anderson will go from 19th position, and the top 20 is rounded out by Logan Egan with Michael Poole there in 21st position, and two Argentines, Nehuen Flores and David Marquez, are split by Inigo Mardones with Lucas Dzerzski and Alexander Rogenbach there. The final 5 positions all sorted by their iRacing out there here today at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I know it's an important challenge today, and the big key for the Necki cars, they've got one on the front row and one on the second row. That's going to be crucial in terms of how they want to challenge it and get at least one car into victory lane and pick up an all-important win here for the Indianapolis 100 for 100 laps, as they get themselves behind the iRacing sedan and getting themselves ready to go here for racing action today around this beautiful track. If you haven't had the chance to already, you can like, you can share, you can subscribe, you can do all that you need to here with us at Crest Autosport. Bring yourself in on the action. Indy is the time and the place, and what an incredible circuit it will prove to be once more for 100 great laps worth of battling here today. This could be as simple as a breakaway. It could be as difficult as a battle challenge. Who's going to play a fuel game here today? Who's going to keep counting back? Who's going to keep being alert to what you need to do with fresh tyres on restart? And who is going to find themselves on the wrong end of an incident? That's where we're going to be keeping our eyes focused on, as well as that fourth row, car number 2 and car number 3. Thijs Barendregt and Alex Everett, the two together on the road, fighting for the championship. And when you're close quarters, the last thing you want to see is those two coming together and a championship being decided in a certain way. But let's get ourselves into play then through turn number 3 with the pace behind the 1-2-2 machine of Pablo Diaz Francis, as we get ourselves into position with Timothy Stroh, the German, just behind the American there in third position. Tim Doyle will be looking for a really good run of things today. And with such an international flair, I can't wait to see some great racing action taking place. Pace car will dive left here, out of 4, and will move into the pit. We will then, in terms of where we position ourselves here today, wait for Barney, the flagman, and wait for the get and go. It's going to be a long, long way to stay. Try and get themselves into play. Everyone's going to get a bit antsy here. There's the green flag, and we are underway immediately. Going to the high side is Alex Everett. He was alert to it. He can only overtake on the outside. He's already doing so. He's got by Steadman as he makes that run through in towards one. Little bit low goes Jeremy Pronk. He's struggling, and already there's contact in the back. Fran Herrera going around. Caution comes out immediately here at Indy as Fran Herrera finds himself on the wrong side of things then off of the get-go. Driver's getting a little bit caught out, and it was Jeremy Pronk who was struggling off of that start. One turn before a caution, but crucially it was Pronk who was struggling on the low side, who got himself into the grass, had to check up. Steadman getting out of the line then drives high up the road and into the side then of Fran Herrera, who had nowhere to go. And just like that, Pronk's race pretty much in trouble. There's more troubles actually at the back because Matt Hummel had himself a crash all on his own under caution. So if we can get a replay of Matt Hummel in the 93 machine, he just found himself slowed down, and ultimately, I think he just lost it all on his own. So he goes to try and warm it up and finds himself in the grass, and then all of a sudden, Hummel can't keep it out as he gets grip back in the tyres. He throws it in the wall. That's what we call, oops, we've all been there and done that one before, and it never is pretty when something like that happens. So Matt Hummel, in a world of trouble, is going to have to dive in and use that fast repair as well here today, as into the pits will come Dave Steadman, no doubt with the damage that he has sustained. Pronk took a tow here, so this has shaken up the field quite a bit. So off of that first start then, Pablo Diaz still leads. It is Tim Doyle, though, up into second as Steadman dives into the pits then. Stroh is third, Pereño in fourth, and Alex Everett, what a start he had, being alert to the rules. You can only overtake on the outside here in iRacing, jumping up into 5th position. Morales gained 6, is up into 6th position. Martin Kenyon has jumped up into 7th position already. And the game's already starting here as drivers look to try and save their fuel as much as they can out there on circuit as they line up behind that iRacing sedan safety car. And not quite the start that we were looking for here today at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But it is the start that we've had, and this will settle down some nerves. The fact that drivers get themselves an extra few laps to pace behind the pace car, give themselves that opportunity to move forward with later areas of the race. It is worth noting as well, with this being 100 laps long, that this should go by pretty quickly. But we do have a 1 hour and 50-minute hard count then in the race. If the clock hits 0 in terms of how they battle, then this race will be declared at time certain out there on circuit. So a lot of drivers then finding themselves in the wrong position early, getting themselves caught up in a couple of things. There have been a few losers. Jürgen Pedersen's dived onto the pits. Michael Poole as well has jumped into the pits, as well as Fran Herrera, no surprises there, and Nehuen Flores also down in the pits as well. So this is going to be the key. You're going to see certain drivers in the pits trying to get themselves on a different strategy. If they can get themselves a couple laps in comparison to the rest of the field, that might be an advantage later on in the race. If they can take less fuel on, for example, if they don't need to change tyres at the final stop, if they need to do anything and give themselves track position, this is the sort of track where those sorts of mind games, it is not a cut and dry race. There is no form book, there is no guide to when you should come down in, when you should make that stop. But everyone knows and understands if it's green, you're going to your tank is dry as they go through. So that'll be the element of focus that we will be keeping our eyes on the longer the race like this goes on. And we're already through 3, looking to 4 laps out there. So it's going to be all important then when they get their restart sorted. More drivers thinking about it. A little dummy thrown in the background there from, I believe, Kenyon was trying to throw the dummy there. But in will come David Marquez, Alexander Rogenbach, and Pedersen in again, along with Nehuen Flores. So more drivers deciding, you know what, we're just going to come in, get what we need, and get it all sorted. And if they can do that under the caution, then that should be helpful for them at the back. Shouldn't be too much of a concern. It will mean that those drivers who are near the back will not be necessarily the earliest pitters. And the last place you want to be, some would say, is the front, because you burn all that fuel and you can gain maybe 1 or 2 laps extra fuel just by sitting behind and waiting for opportunities then to arise. You can see the lights are off on top of the iRacing sedan pace car, which means we are going back to some green flag running. The next time that this car moves through 4, it will dive into the pits and allow that to be the reality. So that's all to keep in mind and all to keep focus on in terms of this race. This is not the easiest race to drive by any stretch of the imagination, but Stroh is ahead of Doyle. My apologies here. So it will be Diaz, Stroh, Doyle as they get themselves through. But crucially, Everett and Barendregt together on the road. Still, once again, how good's the restart going to be? And who is going to be alert off of the get-go to get themselves exactly what they want? The long hold on that start then to the race certainly put a few nerves in these drivers. But will it be Pablo Diaz in the 122 Necki Racing Team car getting exactly what is needed here in these Dallara IR18 machines as we get ourselves ready for a real charge and a real battle out there on circuit? Yellow's still out, and there goes Pablo Diaz a little earlier this time as we go back to green flag running here to start lap 5 out of 100 here from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. They will run through turn 1, and there should be no dramas at all. Huge run going through as they run through turn number 2 and get themselves out onto track again. Doyle looking behind at Pereño, but for the lead, here comes Stroh, looking to get it done, and he'll move to the point on the charge towards turn number 3 out there on track. So immediately, Stroh wants to lead by example and go from the front of this pack. He has been so good over the course of this season, trying to get as much as possible out of it, and a great high line running through, carving back was Diego Pereño against Tim Doyle, and it could be Necki 2 and 3 as they run into one once again. Doyle's going to lift out. He doesn't want to risk his race early. as he gets a very nice run sorted, falls back into line on that think through the short chute, and getting things all nicely worked out as drivers will try and get themselves nicely placed in position and challenge their way through. Front 5 looking good. Bit of a gap back, though, to Thijs Barendregt, and that will be Ruben Simonite just behind as well. So a lot of drivers now trying to keep themselves in certain ranges out there on circuit, give themselves what they need and give themselves every element and reason to go out there and attack. There is the basic racing car of Thijs Barendregt in 6th place. If he stays there in 6th, that'll be good. There's a little change of position just back there, as we saw on the back of shot. I think that was Ben Bennyworth losing out to Martin Kenyon out there on track potentially. So that was a little bit of a moment. In fact, I'll correct myself. That was D11 having himself a little tap against the barriers, actually, coming out of the final corner. So it looks like D11 is in a world of hurt here, and he might be pulling the Bitcoin car down into the pits then if he's got damage. Matt Hummel's through, Lars Petter Anderson's through. Everyone's going to just start moving around the outside of him as Lemon will make his way through 4, and most likely will have to dive down into the pits. But that's your lead battle out there at the moment. Timothy Stroh ahead of Pablo Diaz, and Diego Pereño there in 3rd as a rear gunner at this moment in time, trying to give as much safety as possible. And I am really noticing how much Pereño goes. There's a little tap of the wall out of 2 from Stroh. He'll have to be careful about that. He's got away with one as he makes his charge through, and you can see that Fable's trademarked, you could say, serpentine around this place, around Indianapolis Motor Speedway, as drivers try and shake the draft away from other drivers out there on track. They know they've got to be aggressive here in the early goings and make sure they get themselves away. But the charge is there. Pablo Diaz very happy just to sit here and wait, with Pereño in 3rd and Tim Doyle in 4th position. They know their race is going to be all about how they manage the car, and the car will change over time. And if you're playing your Indianapolis bingo, ARB and weight jacker, I'll tick one off the books for you. Here, you've got to make sure that anti-roll bar, make sure it gets itself as much work as possible and gives you more turn as the tyre falls away. And of course, that weight jacker, giving yourself maybe more tyre contact surface patch to go and work with as they charge on through. Still though, there is good work being done, and Barendregt slowly clawing his way back into this one. He's bringing Alfredo Morales in the ALP car along with for the ride. Now, this is the key. They don't want to make the overtake on Timothy Stroh. They don't want to sacrifice the fuel game. They're leaving him out there to dry at the front of the pack. But the key here is that these drivers are just happy to sit, happy to bring themselves in that group and get things sorted. Group behind them is also interesting because you've got Ruben Simonite, Martin Kenyon, and Ben Bennyworth here. They're 8th, 9th, and 10th out there on circuit. And here comes Kenyon trying to get this move done in the number 43 machine. Club UKNI goes through on another Club UKNI. In fact, it's a 3-car Club UKNI battle at this moment in time, with Bennyworth from Club UKNI as well as Ruben Simonite. So they've got all of these challenges, and with all of the battling they've done through 3 and 4, brings Leonardo Paletta, the Italian, onto the scene. Bennyworth now is going to try and think of a move here in towards 1 here on lap 11 of 100. And it's going to be a little bit of a squeeze they go through. And speaking of squeezes, there was Barendregt there for the briefest of moments, having a little look. And ultimately coming out of it, it is going to be another drag race they go towards 3 and 4. But let's go back towards the title contenders right now on the back of the train as they charge forward here and sit very nicely, very handily where they need to be. Barendregt searching on that high line, trying to get as much of a run through, and struggles for Doyle out of 4. And that's going to bring both of them through. Barendregt riding the coattails of Alex Everett, and a rare mistake from Tim Doyle puts this one back into the context then. And Barendregt struggles through 1, dealing with the dirty air. And ultimately he has to back out of it. He loses about 7 car lengths just on that corner alone. So the issue for Tim Doyle is that he came out through 4 and he was just sliding up the circuit, had to hit the brakes, otherwise he was going to clatter into that outside wall. And they've got to be careful here, because they need to use that rubbered in line. They don't want to be driving out in the marbles later on in this race. That could be a world of hurt, as now Alfredo Morales here, the Venezuelan, residing in Canada at this point in time, tries to open up an opportunity in car number 18, try and figure out all of this group. You'd say that if you can go all the way back here, as Ollie Peters right now has a little bit of a move on, looking into turn number 1. He's going to try and dive down the inside here of Leonardo Paletta, but he gets no dice as Paletta works the outside to a T here through 1 and makes it work absolutely fantastically at this point in time. So, long race. They've had a little bit of opportunity to fuel save over the opening 4 laps. So expect maybe an extra lap, an extra 2 laps maybe on what a traditional stint is, due to the way that the cautions have played out. They'd have been down on their lowest fuel mixture setting to make sure they're saving as much as they can as they charge through. Tim Doyle really struggling right now as the leaders go through 1 and 2. And it really is quite noticeable how he's unable to really make anything happen going through 4. Couple laps now, he's had a little bit of trouble and he's just been scrubbing a little bit coming out of that section. He's going to try and work through the issues, but now all of a sudden, Alex Everett here's got a lunge here, and there's a caution flag, and that will come out for Jürgen Pedersen, who will come straight down the circuit. Barendrecht's been caught up. Thijs Barendrecht's been caught up with Jürgen Pedersen, and all of a sudden, the fast repair goes away, and Barendrecht's got to go through the field. So issues between Jürgen Pedersen and Jeremy Pronk, who are 1 lap and 6 laps down respectively, and ultimately, as upside down went Jeremy Pronk going into turn number 3. The key was Pedersen clawed down on the circuit and Pronk was not moving. So Barendrecht caught up as Jürgen Pedersen desperately tried to get down low. And so here you're going to see it here. Pedersen caught up in the accident, tries to get off the circuit. He's just caught Barendrecht up in that as an innocent bystander. And Barendrecht would be absolutely fuming at this point in time to deal with that. And there you can see Jeremy Pronk riding the catch fence as he went through up over the top of that safer barrier. And just like that, it shows you how scary racing around this place at over 350 kilometers an hour can be here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Barendrecht will now fall to the back of the train. And he's got a long road right now to get himself back through. As things will look, Everett will be champion if things stay like this. So all change at the moment. Stroh, though, in control, with Pablo Diaz there in second, Diego Pereño there in third. A couple of drivers will think about whether they want to come in and get themselves on a different strategy at this point in time. I'd say that Barendrecht here is still on a strategy call. And we've got a couple of thoughts here of drivers coming in. Pablo Diaz is going to dive in. His necky teammate will join. And they leave Stroh out to dry as everybody except Lars Petter Andersen will dive into the pit. Staying out as well is DL Lemon here, who is a lap down. He wants to try and get his lap back if possible. So 2 drivers here have stayed out. Everybody else is in, and they can see Alex Everett fighting for the championship. Welsh Dynamite himself hitting his box. He'll get tyres, he'll get fuel as they go up on the jacks. And it's going to be a race off of the pit lane here to see who's going to be in the best position. Jeremy Pronk's race, by the way, is over and done with. But as they leave the pit, it is going to be Pablo Diaz ahead of Pereño and Everett, followed by Doyle, Morales, Kenyon, Bennyworth, and Paletto. No real shocks or surprises here in terms of how they leave the pits and try and get themselves back into position again. So, what they also know is that they won't lose any time. It's a free pit stop. And if the likes of Stroh, for example, wants to pit, Anderson wants to come in and make a stop, they'll now funnel out to the back of the line, where car 22 is also back down there at this point in time. The driver in 22nd now, I should say. Thijs Barendregt here, only just now being able to leave the pits. So he finds himself a little ways away at this point in time. And it's going to be a long, long road for the Dutchman to bring himself back into play. You have to earn victories at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And it certainly looks like today, with that very, very skinny rear wing on the car, that Thijs Barendregt is going to have to earn one here. 2 cautions then in this race. The first after Jeremy Pronk got some oversteer, through turn number 1. And that led Stedman into the side of Fran Herrera. The second, when Jeremy Pronk turned in for a corner. Where Jürgen Pedersen, turned in for a corner. And Jeremy Pronk effectively said no. Both of them coming together. And race is all in trouble. So, focus is very clear. Split strategy for Timothy Stroh compared to the rest of the field, except for Lars Petter Andersen. They are the only 2 who haven't come in and made their pit stop out there on circuit at this point in time. And that should be crucial as well. 2 bits of lap traffic before Pablo Diaz reaches there as well. And that will be crucial as well, as the lights go off on top of the iRacing sedan safety car. They've got to get by Michael Poole and DL Lemon. before they make their way to Lars Petter Andersen and Timothy Stroh, the front two in this field. So, effectively, a big hit then means a lot of work to go through. Barendregt will come back down into the pits then, get himself another stop, and get himself back on the back of the group, if possible here, to bring himself into play. And that could be quite crucial here. That extra lapper top-up could do a lot. And if you're at the back, sometimes it's the right thing to do. But there are drivers who are looking to make some good inroads right now. Lars Petter Andersen, for example, by staying out, is up 17 spots at the moment. Starting 19th, is up into second position. The Scandinavian out there, Norway is the flag. And we'll be certainly looking for a good run here to put everything together in the books and score an all-important bounty here. The big thing about Indianapolis Motor Speedway, you never truly know who's going to pick up the victory and who may be banking on another caution coming out here, as we will get ourselves back going again on lap 18 here of 100 here today. Stroh in control will move all the way up to the top of the circuit. That's to cover off any jumps or any overtakes on the outside. And everyone's going to have to follow that line through as they try and figure it out. Pace car then is going to be taking that flick left into the pits. Stroh now will have control of the field. And they'll go on his signal. And we will get ourselves back to some green flag running here. Lap 18 about to start here of 100 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. As those two get going, and already it's going to be about how much of a gap they can build early with the 2 bits of lap traffic before Pablo Diaz and Diego Pereño can start working their tyres in and chasing down the gap in hot conditions. Tyre life, caution! Caution comes out. Caution's precaution. It's a big one in the chute. Simonite and Dzerzski are in trouble here, and it's a big, big accident back there. So Ruben Simonite getting caught through one. He got lost the back end, and once again it's Fran Herrera who is the innocent bystander coming through one. The Spaniard having no luck here, and Dzerzski with nowhere to go runs into the back, and that is as vintage of a restart accident as we see. Ruben Simonite in all sorts of trouble, and this is how easy it can be here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway to get yourself in trouble. You get on new tyres, going back through, and it's just a case really of being under that white line for Ruben Simonite. He just clips the curb. The car's fighting against the tyre wall for grip, and the moment he tried to correct that car coming out, it's so easy to do. Watch this here. He's just losing the back end, trying to correct it. At some point, you know, you're going to reach that terminal where the car's going to snap back with an over excess of grip, and that was why Ruben Simonite found himself in trouble. That's why accuracy and pinpoint accuracy is so important around this circuit. It means that if you get an opportunity, you absolutely have to be pinpoint for 100 laps. So 3 cautions here already in the early going. So that is going to be important as they go through. A lot of saving doing early, and a little bit of hearing over race control. Please catch up to the safety car. Come on, we need to make sure that we're all there and we're playing the games effectively at this point in time. And the question is going to be whether you want to dive in or not. So Stroh is going to stay out here, but Lars Petter Andersen here is going to bite the bullet and dive into the pits. So that's going to be crucial. I don't expect anyone really to make a stop outside of that. And at this point in time, can you get yourself back to pits is the all-important question that I think will be asked. Fran Herrera, for example, keep an eye on him right now. He's driving with 3 wheels on his wagon, trying to get it back home into the pits. And you can see that lodged inside one of the air ducts is his tyre. Will be joined in by Dzerzski, who's got the damage on the front wing, mind you. So he'll probably get a new fresh wing on that. You can see he's missing the entirety of his front left. It'll be on the right as you see it. So the walking wounded diving back into the pits then, and they'll be followed in behind by Nehuen Flores and Thijs Barendregt in the number 2. Barendregt seeing no real reason here in terms of issue. He's just trying to get himself as much leeway and margin in terms of his fuel game, in terms of his tyre game, to get himself into the pits, to get himself what he wants. He now hits his marks and will look to get himself off and away again soon. So, Stroh leads. It will be Pablo Diaz in second and Diego Pereño in third position. Everett is fourth. Lars Petter Andersen has dropped back to the back of the train, so it will be Tim Doyle now up in fifth position. 6th will be Alfredo Morales, Ben Bennyworth in 7th, Martin Kenyon in 8th, Leonardo Paletta 9th, Ollie Peters. Rounding out the top 10 here from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 23 minutes of racing is done. We are 1/5 of the way through this race come the end of this lap. 3 cautions then. 3 quick fire cautions at that. We had a caution after the first corner. Then we had a nice run of laps, about 11 laps running in the stretch before an issue in the back of the pack brought out the second. And then the third caution came into play off of that restart there. And Simonite's spin coming out of one and into the chute. And troubles are brewing out there as they go through. Stroh, though, is your leader. And the longer that this goes on, the more fuel he will be able to save. And this is the key for car 44. If he can keep saving fuel, he'll be cutting out pit stops. And his key here is maybe to make it 2 stops, hope it's green to the end. And try and win this one like Alexander Rossi, for example. This may be for Stroh an all-important affair to keep saving that fuel early and give himself some margin and leeway for later on in the race. We are in a wonderful position right now where we're just about 2 stops from here towards the end of this one. And they'll be playing with those fuel margins as well and the limits. And they'll be very alert. You almost lose a lap here in terms of a pit stop, so you have to be alert on that on a green flag run. But Indianapolis can be very unforgiving. We have seen over the course of that how unforgiving it is. And unforgiving in many ways. For example, I wouldn't want to be on the infield today in terms of getting things done on the golf course, which is on the inside of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Imagine having to deal with that. A 4 left and a stray golf ball finding itself on circuit. So Stroh will control the field as he will move towards 3 and 4. The lights are off on top of the iRacing sedan pace car, which means we will be going back to green flag running here on lap 22 of 100 here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the final round here of the Crest Autosport iRacing IndyCar Oval Series. And what will be so very vital about this is that Alex Everett in the number 3 is on course as things stand, put himself in championship position. Can he go and convert from here, or will Barendregt roar his way through back in the pack? Get himself exactly what he wants. Stroh with control of the field again. We are back to green flag running here from Indy. He's got 2 cars in front to go and help with. And crucially, they are Michael Poole and DL Lemon. And they'll want to get their lap back over the course of this race. If they do, they'll be on the back of the train. So keep that in mind as those cars can move through 1 and 2 and get themselves going. Matt Hummel are immediately trying to get a move done on Ollie Peters. He almost understeers out. And so, right in the background, Hummel there in 11th, very nearly finding himself in a bit of trouble. But we're good as we go through 3 and 4. And some highline searching again from Diego Pereño up forward as Ollie Peters looks to challenge at this point in time. There is Pablo Diaz here in 2nd position. And he'll be trying to ride the train. And look at this huge move, defensive there from Timothy Stroh. He knows how important those 2 cars are in front of him, and he'll need to use those cars to advantage as Pablo Diaz goes around the outside then of Poole, trying to get this car lapped, and does so. So it dispatches of one, now needs to work to get back to the other at this point, and will be followed now by Pereño, by Everett, by Tim Doyle, who looks really good on the start of tyres, but maybe a little bit further on in the stint might be struggling. Look at how it checks up in the middle here behind Rogenbuck and co. Some big power moves being made right now along with Logan Egan. And Egan's in the wall here. Logan Egan hits the wall and he just about avoids Dave Steadman. So Logan Egan in all sorts of trouble. It all checked up behind him going through as there was a car actually in the fence going through 1 and 2. That was Martin Kenyon who was in trouble. So Kenyon hit the wall out of one after contact, I believe, with Paletta, as Paletta was trying to get through. Paletta went down low in towards turn number 1, just tapped the tyres, and ultimately kept it in a straight line to Kenyon. No caution came out then on this one. We stay green. There is Kenyon right now that they're going to be passing, who's down there on the infield with the tyre absolutely chalked up to all worth. There is Ben Bennyworth, though, in 7th. He's trying to get himself through on Alfredo Morales here. This is for 6th. Inside. Should be a look down into 1 quarter of the race done as they start lap 25. And that understeer is going to be so crucial between now and the end of the race. And Bennyworth can't do anything. Through will stay Alfredo Morales here in this one. But the battle's so crucial. DL11's got his lap back here. And Stroh is really having to fight here to try and keep himself in play. He knows he wants that buffer behind, but Diaz and Pereño, the two necky teammates, might be working hard together here to get themselves back into play. And the last thing you want is team warfare up against you. It makes it very difficult to go and defend. And that's what Indy sometimes can be like. Lemon again pushing too wide through one, which will be costing and compromising Timothy Stroh as he can't clear that car there of DL Lemon, who is now back on the leading lap here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Some great work being done as they try and figure it out. Big power move low, trying to get this one away and dispatch of it. Everett trying to search, almost contact with Diego Pereño there. Pereño, effectively just shuftying down low Alex Everett. Could have been so much worse than what it was, but crucially, we're seeing some big scrapping at the front here as Lemon again, not for the lead, but to get the lap, moves back through, crucially continues on that way. And this will be where you start fighting between now and the end of this race. How do you keep your calm? The cars that want to battle and want to fight around you. It's a very important skill to have, and the way that you manage that will be crucial. Into three. Every time I notice that wide line from Pereño, who just seems to get a lot of drive on the line where everyone else can't, and that might help him late on in this race here, Diego Pereño, as here comes Tim Doyle, looking to get it done on Alex Everett. He's going to oblige here is Alex right now. Knows that this is a long race still to go and doesn't want to cause any troubles. Tim Doyle with a mega launch through one will immediately be on the back here of Pereño, looking to move up for a third place position at this point in time. Remember, first, second and third, they're all going to get some plaques. And look at this. They're going to get the teammates side by side to defend it here. Pereño is so good on the outside, around the outside of three, getting the move done on Pablo Diaz. So the two teammates swap their positions around. It will now be up to Diego Pereño to chase down Timothy Stroh, who leads this field outright. A little bit further back, Ben Bennyworth's on the back of Alfredo Morales, and the train stretches back to Leonardo Paletta, who is there at the moment with Ollie Peters, 8th and 9th, as they move through the chute again. Move through towards 3 and 4. Everett looking backwards now. This will be Alfredo Morales trying to get a run here. And will he go on the outside? He will. He'll give up the serpentine, but it will come back to him ever so slightly as they run towards 3. Again, the outside line, working a treat. Little brush of the wall there from Morales, but the Venezuelan gets away with it. And suddenly, steaming around the outside, Ben Bennyworth didn't wait for an opportunity. Getting it done on the outside of 4. Everett is struggling out there on the bottom line. And now, that could be some useful information that the track might be evolving and the high line might be starting to work more than the low line potentially is. This is a one-groove racetrack traditionally, and if that track is moving and migrating, that could be some trouble out there as drivers search for different opportunities out there. Bennyworth now has a look to the inside of Morales, the Venezuelan. Can he get the launch? But again, the outside track is working a treat. You're going to have to go the long way around to make the moves here today. And Pereño was really the first to understand that here today in this race. And that was so crucial to the fact of why he's second. And he's trying to get a big race going here in these books as we go on to lap 31. Everett now in trouble with Bennyworth as he tries to get down the inside. Slow now as Morales out into the chute, and Everett's going to pick up 2 for the price of 1 here as he goes down low and gets 2 working fantastically. But Morales is going to get the run back here and is going to really sight on down low against Everett here, the Welshman. And this should be a thank you very much. Trying to get it sorted here. Moving around. There are important implications to this. Barendregt is down in 19th position at this moment. So this is a key fight in terms of how this championship will look come the end. And ultimately, no dice there for Morales. He'll lose out to Bennyworth and he'll lose out to the traffic as well. As Lemon again fighting with Stroh up at the front of the field here at lap 31, lap 32 even. And the key for Stroh is either he's got to work with DL Lemon here, or or it's going to be a case. Lemon comes over the radio, says, I'm not messing with you, Tim. I just want that lap. So that's going to be crucial here. I'm not messing with you. I'm not trying to hold you up. I'm not trying to do anything like that. I'm trying to run my own race. And my own race right now is I've got to stay on the lead lap if I can, if a caution were to come out. So that's going to be crucial. A good bit of green flag running. We know Stroh's going to be the first one to dive into the pits as well. That's also going to be key here today. Because he hasn't made a stop yet, everybody else behind has. We'll expect that 44 dive in sometime, probably within the next 5 laps or so. We're on lap 33. Normally 30 laps, 28 to 30 laps on a full speed lap that they go around. They can stretch out longer. That's going to be the key. And Pereño right now dragging along his teammate, trying to give as much as possible to this race and move things in position. There are drivers trying to make some good moves here, and I want to give a shout out to the 17 of Inigo Mardones. Started 23rd, up into 11th position right now, and Hummel's in the wall. Hummel's in the wall. He'll have to dive into the pits. He grabs the inside retaining wall, and that is a big accident that will not cause a caution because he's in the pits. He'll get a speeding penalty for it. Big accident for the 93. Matt Hummel collapsing as he goes through, and that is a big accident there coming out to 4, and that's how easy it can go wrong. If you don't have it all together, you understeer out of 4, that's trouble. We stay green though here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway as we are 1/3 of the way through with Stroh still your leader in the blue and black as he looks to continue behind DL Lemon out there on circuit just behind Pereño. Pablo Diaz is there. Tim Doyle in 4th position. Everett in P number 5 now with Ben Bennyworth making moves in 6th place. So some good work being sorted. And is it going to be enough? Now that is going to be the key. 14 points we talk about the gap being at this point in time. And 14 points, we know it's 33 with all the bonuses for a win. And those points do drop down. And they are so very crucial. 30 points, well 31 points it is for a win. And anything beyond 20th place is just 1 point. In comes Tim Stroh. He makes his stop. He couldn't go any longer. No surprises. Has to make a green flag decision. It's not the end of the world. He can make his way back through the field as and when is needed. 19th at the time was Thijs Barendregt is currently 17th at this moment. So 17th position for Barendregt right now would give him 4 championship points. Alex Everett right now is in 4th position. And that is enough for Everett to take the championship. Barendregt needs a few places. He's working with Dave Stedman and Lucas Dejerski out there on circuit at this moment. But there is your leader on track that you can see at this moment. It is Diego Pereño. And Aneki 1-2 at this important moment. The Spanish team is putting a lot of faith and work in. Tim Doyle in 3rd, Everett 4th, and Bennyworth is there in 5th position. And you know what? This race far from finished here on lap 37 of this one. Interesting to see where Doyle is going to be and where as well Timothy Stroh is in comparison. Stroh just ahead of the group as Bennyworth tries to attack here on Alex Everett. This is the fight for 5th and 4th at this point in time. So the progress made. Bennyworth's going to look low. It's going to be not really much draft to help. It sounds like Alexander Rogenbach might be coming into the pits here as well. So Rogenbach in the 70 is going to dive into the pits then also on lap 37. So there's another stop then being sorted out at this moment. But still, Bennyworth has his move, has got through Alex Everett, and that is going to be crucial for this race. Gets the move done, gets himself the position. And now Bennyworth can start thinking about maybe tackling Tim Doyle, staying in range of Pablo Diaz. Now this is an important point of the race as here comes Dave Stedman with a search, all the way back there, down in 15th position, working with Lukasz Dejerski out there and making sure that this race for Dejerski is going to work. They are a little ways away from Nehuen Flores in the 888 machine, but Stedman's going to look now to the inside through turn number 1. Gets a little bit pinched, but he's okay for the moment. And through 2, this is such a crucial section. Got to be careful if you go under the white lines there, but Stedman with some very nice control. And this is going to be interesting as they come out of the pits, because they will have Alexander Rogenbach as a new challenge to get to. Back down low will go Derezhki, and Stedman around the outside holds on to the position quite nicely then. So some good work being done, and there is Tim Doyle losing out to Ben Bennyworth. So another little move being done. Bennyworth is starting to really unlock and understand this. Doyle is on the wrong side of things as well for Alex Everett, who's trying to get low. He'll compromise the run here. The 11 will be due into the pits this lap. He says he's pitting in on lap 40. So DL11, with no caution, isn't going to get that lap. And that's going to be quite key here for the Sim Racing Associates Bitcoin Sim Racing Team car that dives down into the pits. It does unleash now cleanly the two necky cars, and it's Ben Bennyworth right now in third. Everett does make it through on Tim Doyle. He moves back into fourth position, and they'll be careful about that car behind who's come out of the pits on fresh tyres in the form of Michael Poole, who's just made a move on Alfredo Morales. Now, this is where you get the toing and froing in a race like this. A car will be quick, and a car will be slow. It'll be slow when it's on older tyres. It'll be quicker when it's on new ones. And Morales getting the move back done. He has his teammate Palazzo and Ollie Peters there for the mix as well. 4 Necchi cars in this field today. And Mardones and Marquez are trying to work the 17 and the 14 cars into play. They started 23rd and 24th respectively. Now 9th and 10th here in this battle at the moment. Bennyworth closing in on the leaders, but there is Ollie Peters in 8th position right now. And just behind that, a little bit of too wide as Lars Petter Anderson losing out then to Fran Herrera, who is still in this race despite being caught up in 2 of the incidents today. And getting a lot sorted then in these positions. Barendregt now moves up into 15th position, and Bennyworth is indicating he's going to come in here on lap 42. So this is going to be an interesting one. He might be trying to split this one into 2 groups of 29 to bring himself in. Everett trying to go around the outside. In comes Bennyworth then to make his stop on 42. First of the real stops then that we're seeing. And will his undercut work against the likes of Pereño and Diaz out there on circuit? So that leaves Everett the chance to attack. And the all-important championship that hangs very much in the balance. There is 1 point fastest lap out there, which is so important. And if you get yourself into play, then that certainly will work in your favour. So, can you get what you need? Can you do what is necessary? There is Everett putting it all together on the book, putting everything nicely into perspective. And he knows that this is still a long way to go as they start their 44th lap and revolution of this circuit. Bennyworth will come out of the pits. He's a long way back at Timothy Stroh. No surprises there. And he will come out just behind, I think, and lose the lap to Diego Pereño. Now, that's crucial, not because this is him really struggling out there on track. It's crucial because if a caution comes out, he's on the wrong side of a lap. It's as simple as that. Bennyworth's race will be in trouble if he's on the wrong side of a lap. So you've got to keep that in mind as this race goes on. If the rivals behind get caught down by the lap, there's no system in place to wave them around and bring them to the front of the field. This isn't NASCAR. So they have themselves opportunities, and a good opportunity right now is going to be Morales here, who's got a great run on Tim Doyle coming through too. He'll move to the outside here, and Tim Doyle in the 55 is just going to have to accept that one as the Venezuelan moves away through and sorts it out. A very good overtake, almost in the wall, as Pablo Diaz as well, as Alex Everett looks to try and give chase here. Now, Bennyworth does have fresher tyres on, so he'll have that ability right now, should he so want it, to make the move on Diego Pereño. Here, car number 92 out on track from Club Iberia, the Spaniard, and that would give him the opportunity then to move ahead and do as much as possible here. So we'll get the look, we'll move through on that inside, and effectively will take place with that overtake. And a good overtake it was as well, getting that all sorted. So he now moves back onto the leading lap, and were a caution to come out, he would be back in position again to gain that opportunity. And it's also a little bit helpful here for those two at the front. They get something to latch onto as we focus on Dave Steadman back here in 14th position. Thijs Barendregt, who he is next around with. And Barendregt trying to launch onto the back of Lars Petter Andersen. 13th, for example, right now as we start the cycle. It's good enough for 8 points. Alex Everett here in third has 26. That will be enough if it is to stay like this still for Alex Everett. So Barendrecht's got some work. He's got to make some passes today as Ollie Peters in 7th now. Looks behind him and Inigo Mardones. They definitely want to go through. Now into the pits comes Tim Doyle. So Tim Doyle now dives in from about 4th position on the road. He actually just clipped the wall coming out of 4th, so it was an unscheduled stop for Tim Doyle as he grabbed the wall again. He would be joined by Herrera and Marquez, who are coming into the pits. And now this is key for Doyle, because it does shift his strategy ever so slightly. And this is what drivers are going to be looking out for, how much they're doing. Pereira is doing 41 second laps on that last time around. I want to see a little comparison here in terms of time for the likes of Timothy Stroh, 40.9. Hot conditions mean slow laps, and this should be important. Bennyworth is leading these drivers around, losing the lap then. No surprises, Fran Herrera and also David Marquez. But look at this, Tim Doyle has absolutely got the money's worth on Ben Bennyworth here. So Bennyworth loses out a lot in the stop. And I think Ollie Peters is going to be deciding here that he's through on Marquez. Got Mardones for a bit of company. But now it's about when do you decide to dive into the pits. We have no indications here. We're going to hit the halfway stage now. After an interesting 45 minutes of racing. Our longest green flag run of the race so far. Diego Pereira leads. It is Pablo Diaz in second and Alex Everett in third. Into the pits comes Ollie Peters then to make his stop. Now this will be important as they cycle on through. They won't have enough to make it to the end from this point, but what they're trying to do, get themselves exactly where they need to be. I think Everett's now making the call. I'm going to come in here at the end of 50 and see whether I can get this all sorted out with a 25 and a 25. Go really aggressive on my fuel, and he'll be following in the race leader, Diego Pereira. Pereira is in with Everett, and Mardones will follow as well. So this is a big fuel cycle, and they should all fall out behind Stroh. Ollie Peters is going to come out, and he's going to be behind the likes of Bennyworth. No surprises there. He'll look to try and get himself back up to speed as quickly as possible. He's going to be behind Fran Herrera now as well. And the all-important cycle continues in this race with Everett and Pereira. They might want to work together here as they get their fuel, they get their tyres. And they'll come off of their jacks soon and get themselves off and away. Exactly the same time they leave their boxes. So that's crucial. Where is Stroh? There is Stroh. So Stroh's going to go. And there you can see Thijs Barendregt. He's going to make a launch now into pits. So trying to be aggressive here on his strategies here. He's 1 lap behind on strategy to Alex Everett. Oh, sorry, 1 ahead of Alex Everett at this point in time. So this now puts a lot of drivers in some good positions here. Pablo Diaz, Juan Flores as well, looking pretty good in this race. The longer you go, the easier the final stop is going to be. And that's going to be the focus here as into the pits behind Stroh will move a couple of drivers. So Pablo Diaz now from the race lead is going to dive into the pits. That's Logan Egan who's dived in as well. So Pablo Diaz then, lap 52, dives into the lane with Juan Flores. Lars Petter Andersen also coming into the pits. So that should promote, as Steadman has made his stop, Stroh to the point and should be leading this race outright. There is Pereira, currently in third position net on the road, behind Tim Doyle and Timothy Stroh, with Everett fourth and Alfredo Morales currently in 5th position. There is Pereira trying to launch in, and there is Diaz trying to lead the pits. So here's the battle off the lane. Where are you going to slot out if you're Pablo Diaz? The answer is you are going to be behind. Doyle will go through. Pablo Diaz will go through. I think Alex Everett here will do as well because the traffic is not helping. Look at that, out of the pits. Stuck in the chute was Logan Egan. And Pablo Diaz getting caught out behind. Going to fall back into the group of Morales and Bennyworth here as they fight behind DL Lemon for position. So a really awkward scrap that we got going on at this point in time. And you can see just how much they're moving about through the circuit, trying to find the optimal line that unlocks these overtakes. Because you've got Lemon and Egan. They are fighting effectively for position. They have every right to do so. But you're seeing now drivers just dropping behind, falling into the line and into position. Pereno is now through on Doyle. And a little bit of an unbelievable from Alfredo Morales then as Logan Egan lets them go. He feels like he's being held up here and he has lost contact. 2 seconds the gap though for Stroke. As there goes the move from Tim Doyle. Doyle and Pereno are going to have to work together here over the course of this stint. Another little half tap there of the wall from 55, Tim Doyle. Always a driver who can go out there and make something happen. And you're really seeing how important this race is turning into. Barendregt, for example, though, has masterminded the stops. He's now into 12th position here. That's 9 points in comparison to Everett, who finds himself in 4th, who would have 24 points. That's a 15-point swing. That would mean, as things stand, Everett takes the championship by 1, ladies and gentlemen. By 1. He has the advantage as well, does Everett. He's got more wins than Barendregt. So Barendregt needs 10th place right now, if they stay like this. A championship to be Barendrecht's in the number 2. Tim Doyle still dealing with his fight with Diego Pereno out there on circuit. And there is Tim Stroke. First of all the takers. But he is now starting to fall back on the tyres. The gap down to 1.7 seconds as through will go Diego Pereno making that run. Remember, they get those bonus points as well for the fastest lap of the race. They've got to keep that in mind as they go through. And Everett is really clawing back in. He just did a 40.3. Did Alex Everett on that last lap. And that was one of his fastest laps of the race so far. And it shows. So, Everett absolutely charging. Doing what he needs to do. Will be interesting to know who does have the fastest lap of the race at this moment, as Pereno will look to try and line it up here. Make it happen here in towards 1. And gets it done. Very much knowing the limits there is Tim Doyle, as he chopped down low, trying to get in behind and take that line as quickly as possible. Caution comes out, though. A caution comes out. It's the 4th caution of the day. And I have absolutely no idea who or what or where that's for. It looks like it's Dave Steadman who it's come out for, who grabs the wall. Coming through 3, he grabbed it. And through 3 into 4 was on the wrong side of Logan Egan. Just got caught up in the wrong groove. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the 4th caution of the race. And it completely neutralizes what was looking like was going to be an incredible strategy game today here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It does bring out the iRacing sedan safety car, but Timothy Stroh in car number 44 is now going to get a few more laps to bring himself back into play. Accidentally overtakes the safety car, so he'll have to slow himself right down again and allow himself then to go back through. So he'll have to do so quickly, otherwise he may get himself a black flag, and he really chalks it down and gets himself back in. That will hurt the fuel safe game at this point in time. So enough to be said there. Steadman in the wall, bringing out the 4th caution of the day with that, and he can see he's just going to try and turn in. He's just too late. And when you get yourself outside of the groove and in those marbles, you know, the car's just not going to turn. Just ask JR Hildebrand on lap 200 of the Indianapolis 500 as a rookie in the Army car. And how do you put it? Dan Weldon. Big win for him. 2011, rest in peace. But this will decide whether drivers want to come in or not. And now you're getting split strategy. And I love it. Stroh comes in. Dummy thrown by Doyle. Everett's going to stay out. Pablo Diaz going to cover off Doyle. As in will come Fran Herrera, Ollie Peters, Nehuen Flores. Barendrecht's going to come in for a stop, as well as Marquez and Madones. And Dereshki is going to come in as well. And I believe Rogenbach, who's also on the lead lap. So a lot of drivers then in the mid to the late going to come in. But that will put Diego Pereño up in front. And it's going to be a long way from here to go all the way to the end if you've not got the fuel for it. It might have to be a major fuel save or wait for some more cautions. I think it's going to be more hope there's a caution in the last 10, splash and dash it with the free stop. So, Barendrecht's going to get himself back into some position here. He gets himself off and away. Gets himself ahead of Fran Herrera, actually, with that stop, and Ollie Peters. So, another good stop from Thijs Barendregt. Should have him out in 10th place right now, which, as things go, 10th place is 12 points. 3rd place is 26. Still not enough. He needs 2 more points. That's 1 position. Well, technically, he needs 2 positions because he hasn't got the count back. So, Barendrecht needs 8th place right now if Everett is to finish 3rd. It's all important here. We know how crucial these battles can be. And 14 points can change so quickly. They also have to factor in those drop rounds, which is why 6th place gets it done. And that is very crucial just to keep in mind in terms of how the points look. Barendrecht has an 18th and a 20th. In terms, 18 points and 20 points in terms of the drop. Everett at 10 points and 16 points. So definitely you're seeing those checks and balances coming into view at this point in time. But it is at the front of the field, Diego Pereño. He leads it over Tim Doyle and Alex Everett. 41 laps to go when they cross the line. Should see some lights coming off of that iRacing sedan safety car as they cross this point. And when they do, they will go back to racing action as the lights come off with 40 laps to figure out who wins this Indianapolis 100. Such an important battle here today. Number of drivers are laps down. A few retirees, Jeremy Pronk, Ruben Simonite, Matt Hummel, all out. Pedersen still going 5 laps down at this point, but he is down in the pits with Martin Kenyon as they both leave the pits together. Dehuen Flores also still in the pits. So work to be done at this point as Dehuen, the Argentine, taking himself out of the pits and looking to move forward once again. But for Pereño, he's been up there near the front, putting what he needs. Most laps led is also going to be important. That's going to give you a point as well. But as things go, Diego Pereño wants that 92 car over the yard of bricks at the end of what is 250 miles of racing. Tim Doyle has seen it all before in the 55. He's raced pretty much everything there is to race in an IndyCar. And he'll be certainly hoping for good results. Everett, with championship thoughts on the line, knows that if Barendregt gets involved in something else, he's got it from now until the end. We haven't seen a huge accident. We've seen a couple of 2 or 3 car hits. But car 92, Diego Pereño with control for Necki. Pace car dives in. It'll be on his command. And his command is now. And we go back to green flag running here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Lap 61 of 100. As we get ourselves back to running. Doyle chasing with Everett as they go through. Watch out for the likes of Stroh trying to make some progress back through the field. He's back there in 8th position right now with Pablo Diaz and Thijs Barendregt. And caution immediately comes out here. Immediately comes out. And it's for Alexander Rogenbach, who is the wrong way around at the back of the field. 5 cautions then over the course of 61 laps. And Alexander Rogenbach doesn't collect anyone else with it. Great avoidance from everyone. That's what happens when you go in after a stop. You think you've got the grip, but the back end steps out. And sometimes you forget to adjust the ARB and the weight jacket. He's actually lost the front wing, maybe ever so slightly as he went through as well. So Rogenbach really in a world of hurt there with that sort of incident. And the German finding himself on the wrong side of that one. So we'll get more laps under caution. Tell you what, that would have been a scary one as he sprawled around the circuit. Everyone went high and low to avoid, but it does tick more laps off. for the likes of these drivers. But how crucial is it that Tim Doyle managed to, how do I put this, get himself into play? The caution came out, and he was down low, and might, in fact, have gone ahead under this stage. But Barendregt very happy here to save as much fuel before being told by race control to catch up and get to the pace car. And that will be so very, very vital then as Barendregt move back into race lead position out there on track. So Barendregt in control then. Tim Doyle in second. Third is Alex Everett. Then it's Alfredo Morales, Ben Bennyworth, Leonardo Paletta, Lars Petter Anderson. And then the big keys of Stroh. Pablo Diaz, who's actually diving down into the pits again, trying to get himself better position on Stroh. Barendregt, Herrera, Ollie Peters, David Marquez. So Pablo Diaz sees no reason why he shouldn't pit right now. Fresh tyres will certainly help. Nobody has joined in except Nehuen Flores in the Triple Eight. So a couple drivers have dived in, got the stop that they want. But this is going to be a drive to keep an eye out on late on in this race. Pablo Diaz, if he can really run forward and gain his way back through the pack, he's a threat. And this is just that sort of range where you feel that you could maybe, with a bit of help, get it home. And that may be what Pablo Diaz is thinking of here for Neki and one of their 4 entries here today with Crest Autosport. Barendregt looking pretty solid. We are pretty much coming up towards an hour's worth of running here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and this Indianapolis 100. 5 cautions have come out. If we get to about 8 or 9 cautions, we may be close on time. But it has been an incredible race so far. Maybe an incredible race all the way to the end. Do not count your chickens just yet. You always talk about counting back, and now you're starting to think about that final strategy. When is the right time to come in, and how aggressive do you need to be in the final stages of an all-important Indianapolis Motor Speedway race? This is so vital. If you want to make something happen, if you need, absolutely need to put it all together on the board, you've got to do it now. Otherwise, you're going to start thinking about it and regretting it later. And there are a lot of drivers here who have gained position. Paletta is one of them. Lars Petter Anderson is another who could really make something happen late in this race. They've just been quiet. They haven't really done much in this one. We saw how Lars Petter Anderson was one of the later pit stop takers. He's in 7th. Stroh is in 8th. And he'll be looking to try and make that strategy work fantastically over the final stages of this race. But lights off on the pace car. We will go back to racing action on lap 65 of 100, which will leave us 36 laps of green flag running. Bring ourselves in, which I think is just outside of a pit stop to bring yourself home if it does stay green. So there's going to be a lot of focus on that, whether you've done enough or not, and how far you can actually go in terms of the fuel. Who's going to be willing to drop down the fuel mix, maybe cost themselves upwards of a second, 2 seconds a lap in order to bring it home late in the race. That's going to be a lot of what we're focusing on here today, is can you chase it down? Can you make it happen? Barendregt in control once again. Tim Doyle, Alex Everett, DL Lemon. Barendregt in 9th. They are tied on points effectively in the championship. Effectively. And you'd say right now that Barendregt needs as much as possible. Just moving through a couple places with fresh tyres compared to those in front who do not might be a difference maker in the final stages of this race. Race win hangs in the balance. Championship also hangs in the balance. Give it everything you've got. High up and covering again is Diego Barendregt. Pace car's going to flick left and dive in. We'll come back after a Nintendo's amount of running, 64 laps, to lap 65. And Barendregt takes us away again. here at Indy. And there'll be no arguments here in towards turn number 1. Nobody in position to really make a move to start things off and to start the chain of overtakes. They'll maybe have looks out of 2 already. Tim Doyle looking really, really strong. Caution comes out. Caution comes out then. And again, it happens in the middle to late. And it is Michael Poole who's around. The lap traffic has gone around. So issues at the back. 6th caution. So back-to-back restarts that go wrong. Poole just gets a little bit too low going through one. Throws it hard into the wall. And the 144's race will be all but over with that in mind. It just looks that he was losing it on entry to the corner was Michael Poole. And he just had no room as he grabbed the curb to cover it back again in the Nomad sim racing car. You can see he's losing it and he hits the curb. He's got no way to recover that back. Michael Poole's race pretty much done with the 6th caution overall. So now those who have decided to come into the pits might be in a really good position. They might be in position right now to bring themselves home on fuel. And that could be massive in terms of this race. Enough cautions going through could bring this race in absolutely fantastic position. So, at least what you'd say right now, it's going to be about time, effort, understanding, knowing what you need to do. And these cycles of restarts aren't going to be doing any good for the tyres. The more that you cruise around and then put that heat cycle into the tyres, they're going to get worse and worse and worse. And now you're going to have to start thinking about when you want to dive down into the pits. Doyle maybe had a little think about it, but decided against it. Oh, no, he didn't. Late call. Doyle comes in. And who's going to follow? Paletta is the only one who's going to cover that off at the moment. So he'll come in. Marquez will come in with Pedersen, who's lapped down. Pablo Diaz again will come down in. And this is very, very interesting here. Tim Doyle going to say on lap 67, I'm going to top it up to the end here. I know I can make it to the end from here. Oh, he missed his box. Tim Doyle missed his box. Ever so slightly missed his box. That's going to cost him a bit of time. Question is, will it cost him a place out there on track? The answer to that is no, it won't. So, crucially, he gets away with that one. But those are the small mistakes that you get when you get a little nervous. And Tim Doyle there, just missing the box. It's not the end of the world. Not many people came in and made a stop. Not many people wanted to try and make something happen under the caution. But it does make you wonder, doesn't it? Pereño now, your leader. Everett in 2nd. Morales up to 3rd with Bennyworth and Anderson. Stroh up to 6th with Barendregt in 7th. Barendregt very much in range for the title now. Just has to keep it together. And after being caught up with Jürgen Pedersen early on in this race, he may have a chance to still go and win this one. And that could be something. So, race far from over. And it has been a very long and arduous race. A lot of cautions here, 6 of them to be precise at this point in time. And you can look at it from any number of directions. But this could be so important. Pereño looking fantastic, having absolutely everything work right now, staying on the front. But we're not home yet. And in fact, Pereño here is going to dive in on 67. Interesting from the lead. Didn't go at the initial call, went the next lap. Fran Herrera is going to follow, along with Dave Steadman and also Martin Kenyon. So some lap down cars also going to take to the pits. Nehuen Flores as well. So big call for Diego Pereño. He'll fall right to the back of the pack with this stop, behind Tim Doyle. And he'll have to work his way through again. Question's going to be, A, how's he going to hold up? B, how many places can he make? You figure that the likes of Everett and co will still have to make one more stop. And they'll be banking maybe on a caution 10 or 15 laps from the end. Give themselves some fresh tyres, go out there and challenge it. But everyone will be coming in at that point. So this gets really, really dicey in terms of where you want that strategy to be. where you want to play it. But Alex Everett now is in the lead of this race, and Thijs Barendregt is in 6th position, which is enough for Thijs to take the title. Believe it or not. So, what can Alex Everett do? Needs a win, needs fastest lap, needs everything basically, the kitchen sink. And if you can get the kitchen sink in the back of that Dallara IR18, you may just be able, with all the bonus points, take a title. That is what we call important here. In terms of points, as they go forward and try and get things done, 31 points for a win, 20 for 6th place. If you get all the bonus points, it's going to be enough. But pace car dives in. Lap 69 of 100. 32 laps. Alex Everett, for the first time today, has control. Immediately moves down low as the green flag goes. He's got the traffic of DLM behind. But remember, once that lap again, Alfredo Morales second. Lars Petter Anderson now in 3rd position. And here will come Stroh. Now this is going to be key. How will Stroh do on this run, as he'll try and get to Ben Bennyworth at this point in time? The 96 going low, trying to follow the tracks there of the draft, but it's not going to work here, as round the outside will go Stroh for the first time in anger. Gets himself around and gets what he needs. Radio, Marquez, Diaz, all in the back will have a lot of work to do to bring themselves into play, but Everett has control. And then you've got Alfredo Morales in 2nd position, moving through turn number 1 once again. 17 cars on the lead lap, going all the way back to Nehuen Flores in 17th position. It's not the end yet. They still know it's a long way to go, but this is where you hit the final stages of a race. 30 laps to go at Indy. You've got to be switched on, and you've got to find your very level best in order to get what's needed. Good gap, though, forming between Stroh and Lars Petter Anderson. That's going to be crucial between now and the end. A couple laps it will take. If they drop outside of draft range, that could be trouble. And this will be another thing that drivers will look at here. Tim Doyle on the back of Inigo Mardones will be key as Morales searches through one. Very happy just to stay in the range. Not necessarily risk too much as this race continues on here at Indy. And now they start to continue to make those challenges. And it's all about the moves. Mardones here is doing well, but Morales here looking very, very nice. As he looks to try and get past Everett, he's not going to have a look into 3. And a look behind is Stroh, side by side with Lars Petter Anderson in the fight for 4th and 3rd. They've got a huge gap starting to form, though, to the cars in front of DLM, and it's almost a second right now for Lars Petter Anderson. Stroh, though, the German, moving through 1. Looks absolutely fantastic at the moment. It's poetry in motion, the way he drives the 44. But he knows better than anybody else. He's got to stay with it. Barendregt as well will be in a bit of trouble right now because he'll have Ollie Peters behind. And remember, Ollie is teammate to Alex Everett. So Ollie Peters here with a move that could put Alex Everett in championship control. Not quite, but it's there. He's just got to focus for it as they go through 4 and onto the front stretch once again. Looking for the yard of bricks and almost in the wall goes Ollie Peters there out of 4. This will bring Derejki back into play. Inigo Mardones as well. And there goes Derejki very low. Going to get nothing of it. Inigo Mardones here trying to work the outside through 2. Get that run out of the chute and onto the back stretch. They'll bring Tim Doyle for a bit of company as well. Doyle might just try and thread the needle. Doyle will. Great fight for the lead, but Tim Doyle here is going to get 2 for 1. And there it goes. Doyle up into 8th position. Great move. As the 55 will give chase and continue on. But back to the front we need to go because Morales is trying to line it up here. It's going to go to the high side. It's not going to get that. Wise decision there. Lifting out, unlike Nickelback, who never were wise men. But Alfredo Morales in the 18th, trying to get himself into play. Lars Petter Anderson still holding on to 3rd, but here comes the look again on the high. In towards 3. Not going to have it. Everett trying to cover as much as possible low. 26 laps to go when they next cross the line. Tell you what, it's going to be a very important race. And Ollie Peters is coming in. So Ollie Peters can't go any longer. Will dive into the pits. And maybe might lose a lap as well. Side by side now is Dereshki. Will lose that to Inigo Mardones as Morales gets a great run through 2. So they see Dereshki losing out. Just behind him is Leonardo Paletta, the Italian. And it looks like Ben Bennyworth here, who's just in front of Thijs Barendregt, is signalling he wants to come into the pits. So Ben Bennyworth here will be looking at this coming out of 4. And should be diving down low and left into the lane. And he'll also see DL Lemon in front of him dive in. But it's the front 2 who've got a gap now, and an important gap at that as well. The gap is 1.4 seconds between Morales and Lars Petter Anderson. Anderson's out of range, and so too Timothy Stroh. It's a race of 2 right now between Everett and Morales, and they've isolated the race off. That is exactly what you want to do in a race like this. Isolate as many competitors as possible and make this a race about pace. And at the moment, it is pace that is proving to be king at this point in time. Fastest driver, though, on track is Tim Doyle, who did a 40.7 that last time around. 4/10 quicker, half a second quicker, sorry, than Stroh on that last attempt. So Tim Doyle is the man on the move at the moment. He's 4 seconds off the lead. As Morales and Everett work, Bennyworth and Lemon are going to come through here, and they're going to fall the lap. So that's going to be key. What will also be key is, can Lars Petter Anderson get by them both? And he can. Lars Petter Anderson is really charging at this point. Then Stroh boxes himself in there on the outside going into 3. Got caught on the wrong side of DL Lemon. Ben Bennyworth just in front. That's going to bring Barendregt and Stroh and co into play. Dereshki losing out of place now to Leonardo Paletta back in the pack. So another position that is moving. And the Necchi cars aren't really making any inroads at all in this race. So now they find themselves maybe on the wrong side of things with their decision making. But Alex Everett's number 3 started 8th position on the grid, 4th row. Managed to bring himself up to the front. Morales started on the 6th row in 12th position. Lars Petter Anderson started 19th. And they'll have themselves 22 laps to figure it out the next time they cross the yard of bricks. Now I wonder what type of milk it's going to be for the winner here today. As they run through 3 and into 4. Now make this run on the front stretch once again. Ollie Peters just in front of them, who took a little bit of a quicker stop to maintain on the leading lap. Morales looking pretty good. Anderson in 3rd. Stroh is 4th. Barendregt has the title sewn up if he can keep it in 5th position, but he'll have some competition behind him. As there's Tim Doyle, half a second back. They've gapped Paletta by about 3 seconds. So it's the front 6, you'd say at the moment, fighting for the win at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, depending on when drivers can, if and will, come down into the pits and make a stop. Of those who have pitted, the latest to pit of the front 6 is Tim Doyle, who very nearly loses it out of 4th. But it is the front 2 still, Everett and Morales, to keep a focus on. There is Tim Doyle in 6th. He wants to move up into 5th. This is an important charge in the race. Everett, though, with 20 to go when he next crosses the line, knows he's just got to keep ticking them down. He'll have his teammate in front of him if he can catch him, and that will help as well. Remember, there is more than just the championship at stake sometimes. This is a crown jewel finish to a crown jewel season. And will this be the same case as Morales here will really try and dig deep? You'll know that he'll just sit and wait, try and run Everett out of fuel, and it may be a game of the fuel whisperers late on here at Indianapolis. Meanwhile, gap's certainly opening. 4 Necchi cars in a row, by the way. Mardones, Diaz, Pereño and Marquez. And it looks like the wrong strategy call may be called out at this point. But they make that progress again. Lars Petter Anderson doing a good job, but if they're not careful here, as we look at Inigo Mardones trying to get by the Italian Leonardo Paletta for 7th on track. I'm going to get it coming out of 4th. You can't make it happen. Trouble. This track has got slightly hotter. It's 42 degrees right now. As we look at Alfredo Morales, giving himself a couple laps. Maybe he's used up his tyre behind Everett, trying to get by and not finding it. Could be something of worth, of note. He's falling backwards into the clutches of Lars Petter Andersen, who, on his debut here with Crest Autosport, might be trying to make something happen. Logan Egan's going to be diving into the pits just in front of them, so they'll get by him without any troubles. Reality setting in for the front 6. It's a case of lap after lap. Ben Bennyworth a lap down in the middle of this group, putting a barrier between the front 3 and the back 3 of this 6-car train. And Everett, starting to stretch his legs for the first time, gets the gap out to nearly 7/10 of a second. Lars Petter Andersen is about 4/10 back of Morales here. And you're really starting to sense it here, that this is about how you manage a stint. And Everett getting into the groove of Ollie Peters might just be driving away from Alfredo Morales here. And this will also be good if you can get a fastest lap. In comes Stroh. In comes Stroh. Now that's crucial. Stroh will be followed by Tim Doyle into the pits. Doyle gained so much under braking there in comparison to Stroh. So Tim Doyle will come in. And if that's a sign of things to come, they're trying to undercut their way up to victory. And it depends on when you can make a stop. And if they're coming in, they're all going to have to come in. Pereño's going to come in. If you stay out long enough, you might get a caution. And this is where you start throwing the dice. How much room have you got? Car 44 has certainly made his way into the pits and looked for what he's needed. But they get their way around some traffic here. Does Everett and co. Out and away those drivers go. Doyle has leapfrogged Timothy Stroh with some amazing fuel gain. So it will be about where Tim Doyle is. Morales has had to jump in from second. He couldn't go any longer. We'll go down to 15 laps. And Everett says he's pitting. Alex Everett says he's pitting. Barendregt is in the lane as well. This is the most crucial phase of the race. You've got to get this stop correct. And Everett's going to dive down in. He had to cover off. And so he brings himself down in, does Welsh Dynamite. And will hand over control of the race to Lars Petter Andersen in the number 25. The Norwegian with control. Paletta, 8 seconds adrift. Inigo Mardones is back there, 8.5. 9 seconds back, Pablo Diaz. So crucial right now, this phase of the race. Who's got fuel? Who can save it? Barendregt is ahead of Tim Doyle. So Thijs Barendregt, from staying back there as long as he could, is in a really nice position. Everett coming out through one now. Where is Barendregt? Going through the same corner. The two title contenders are going to fight for the race win at Indy. Everett now is going to have to serpentine. He moves so aggressively, but Barendregt is there. Where has he come from? He'll storm around the outside of Alex Everett. Is this a pivotal moment between a Brit and a Dutchman? Where are we going to see that later this week? And suddenly, we've got a race on our hands. Dereshki in the pits. But your leader right now, Lars Petter Andersen, 13 laps away from safety. Paletta Mardones doing well. Now the question's going to be with the likes of Pablo Diaz, for example. Where is Everett in comparison? It's about 25 seconds, the gap between those drivers. I think Pablo Diaz is the big threat in this race if he can make it happen. So those drivers are fighting for it. This is a real strategy call on how long you can stay out there and make it happen. 9.3 seconds the margin right now at the front. Everett still covering off Barendregt. This is the title fight. Barendregt going high. And a big squeeze. They go through the chute and in towards 2 once again. And sorted As it stands, it is Barendrecht's championship. There's nothing much that Everett can do about it. Anderson still staying out then. Will soon be on 10 laps to go. We're a couple laps away from that though. But the the championship battle we stay with. As Barendrecht can effectively just stay in behind and say, I'm King Thijs, first of my name. Get it all sorted. And if he is thirsty for it, he'll want it. Trying to go around the outside, not there. They've got Morales, they've got Stroh, and they've got Tim Doyle there. Doyle maybe has underfueled the car slightly, so that's why he may be dropping back. Lars Petter Anderson comes into the pits then from the race lead. Leonardo Paletta will resume control of this race, and there will be 10 laps to go when the Italian, who at Motegi had a chance of victory, robbed cruelly away from him. He might have one here today if he can hold it for 10 more laps, but don't hold your breath. Mardones just behind, then it's Pereño and Diaz. And this is where the strategy of Necky's coming in. Everett over the yard of bricks, dealing with Barendregt and Morales. Stroh will be there as well. Oh, there's the car off. It's Logan Egan. Down in the infield. Logan Egan spun it on the infield. And it's a caution. Oh my goodness, the race changes again. It's a caution. Egan in the wall. And Logan Egan. And I think there's more than that. It's Pablo Diaz. Oh, a heavy hit. Just about avoided by everyone except one. Oh my goodness gracious. And I'm sorry, says Pablo Diaz, as he desperately tries to keep the car in a straight line. What an incredible moment. Going through four, struggling late. He would have been scared by the incident in front of him. That would have cost his concentration as he went up, tags the wall. I'm just wondering who he tagged. And the answer was Martin Kenyon, who got caught up in it. So Pablo Diaz, his race all but over. His shot of glory gone. And is this the final caution that gives some safety to car 22 and Leonardo Paletta? We'll get to the end of the lap, we'll reset, we'll see where everyone is and who decides they want to dive into the pits. I'm pretty sure a lot of drivers aren't safe on fuel and will dive in for a splash and dash with fresh tyres. Paletta's going to be one of them. Mardones is going to come in, but Pereño will stay out. Marquez stays out. Herrera and Rogenbach as well. Nehuen Flores will come in. So 4 cars between Everett, Barendregt, Morales, Doyles and Stroh to move on forward. They got a bit of lap traffic to get around as well. So Diego Pereño, right now, 92, started 4th position in this race. He's been trying to mastermind it on fuel. He believes he'll be good to the end. The question will be, can those drivers behind, like the 3 and the 2, make their way through the field? They've got about 3 seconds to chase down. And is there enough in the tank for car 92? A late 7th caution to this race could very much put into play the end all of what is going on. David Marquez will be a rear gunner. Fran Herrera in 3rd. Has been involved in 2 early incidents and has a shot of Indy glory. As things stand, the 92, the 14, and as well the 4 would make it a Spanish 1, 2, 3. I will correct myself. It'll be a Spanish 1, 3 and an Argentine 2. So David Marquez in 2nd. Pereño leads. All to play for, and the laps tick down. Any caution inside of the final 5 laps should end the race outright. There'll be no caution on the final lap of the race. And the lights, when Pace Sedan makes its way across the yard of bricks, should go off, which will mean there will be 1 lap to go before we go back to green flag running. Dave Stedman will depart out of the way. He'll dive into the pits. cars that will need to be dealt with to go through. But Alex Everett right now, who is in 5th position, and will move through. He's going to get by some of the lap traffic, but he'll have to give that back to Rogenbach. He's got to get past Rogenbach. He's got to get past Herrera, Marquez, and Pereño. This, for Indy, is so vital. How do you position yourself? You've got Barendregt. You've got Morales there. Barendregt guarantees the title if it stays as is. He just can't afford to throw it in the wall. If he does, his race is over, and so will be his championship hopes. What can you do? Necchia 1 and 2. A late caution may just give them the chance. Believe it or not, it was a late caution from one of their own cars that got spooked going through 3 and 4. Diego Pereño will have David Marquez as a buffer. Fran Herrera in 3rd. And Alexander Rogenbach, who had started dead last today, 26th of 26, with a shot of immortality. Through 3. In through the back chute. And now to 4. What can car 92 do? 7 laps. 7 laps. He's going to try and launch it early, potentially. Pace car's going to dive in. They'll be able to coordinate this restart as well. And there's the power, and they'll get themselves going. No response time from Fran Herrera. Green flag back in the air. Everett can't get it done. Barendrecht's going to go low here and get by Rogenbach and Everett as well. So Barendregt now has himself up into 4th position. Suddenly, we're in trouble town for Alex Everett. But this is for Barendregt exactly what he wanted. What a fantastic restart by him. But he's got to quickly get on the back of Fran Herrera here. Not lose a second. Serpentine coming into play. Pereño in control. And now Stroh's going to try and have a look here around the outside here of Alexander Rogenbach, and we'll get there. Don't count him out of it. He's so good late, is Tim Stroh. Morales also searching the Venezuelan, trying to get a run. He'll make a power move down to the inside contact, and Morales off. Everett in trouble. Race over for them, and it's another caution. Morales upside down, travelling down the pits. A big junk up. Everett, his championship gone with a handful of laps to go. Oh my goodness me. That is about what you do. Everett was trying to give himself some room, and that is a heavy, heavy accident as he slammed hard into the pit wall. Side on. You can see he goes for it, and Morales here was trying to give himself some room, try and get it settled back straight, was not expecting Everett to hold his line. And what a big hit that is. And it completely caused a chain reaction back. I mean, you look at it, you know, there's nothing you can do if you're Everett. He wouldn't have been expecting it. And there was different contact as well behind as they went through. In the wall as well, grabbing out of 4 was Ben Bennyworth as he went through. And then there was more issues as they went by through. It looked like Dereshki and Paletta came together coming through 4 as well in another separate incident. So about 3 incidents happened in 4 there on lap 94, and this is what it means. So this is Dereshki here in 4, and then those two come together, and the 8th caution of the race, and it still continued there. So now who's got a car? That's the real question here. Pereño, Marquez, Herrera, Barendregt, Stroh, Peters. Bennyworth's car is okay. Nehuen Flores is going for tyres. Should be next to no time between now and the end of this one. We will get a restart off, but they know this is effectively the last chance on how you sort out your Indianapolis. Diego Pereño and David Marquez can work out that restart once again, but we can now finally confirm it. Thijs Barendregt is your champion of the Crest Autosport iRacing Oval Series. No doubts about it. He had to work hard for it today. An incident with Jürgen Pedersen put him down at the back of the pack. He had to spend the entirety of this race clawing his way back up, and he is now in 4th position with Fran Herrera, and he'll have to be alert on Fran to get that chance. Spain, Argentina, Spain, Netherlands, Germany. Your top 5, followed by UK, America, Argentina, and Italy. Your top 10. Just 10 drivers left on the leading lap who could be the victor today. With the lights still on, they'll take at least one more lap. The big fuel save game. This may be a game that is won by those who rode out the late cautions. But it's another heat cycle in the tyres. And if it does stay green for long enough, it might be one where the 2 can charge, the 44. Maybe even the 121 can have a go at it. But, never say never. It is Indianapolis. What a race we find ourselves with. This late on. This much to do. Lights off. We'll be back to green on lap 98. It's a 3-lap shootout to end the season here at Indy. Virtual fans happy everywhere with what has been going on. And a race which is 16 minutes from the hard cut-off of a time-certain race. We will go through on laps. So, 8 cautions later, around the most fabled and most difficult track in IndyCar racing. It is 2 newcomers at the front, Diego Pereño and David Marquez. Fran Herrera, who has just had the most rotten luck all season in the number 4. And the champions-elect, unless there is some very late drama that sees him in the wall. And Alex Everett to move up through inside the top 10. He is 1 lap down, is Alex Everett. It will take a miracle for him right now in 15th to take the title. No ifs, no buts, no ands. But for Pereño, with control of the field, Marquez behind him in the 14. Fran Herrera there in 3rd. Herrera has got to be better on coordinating that restart. He has got to be more alert. He has got to give himself room. 1-2 for Necchi at the moment. Pereño was the first to realise that the high line was working well today. He looked like he had a little bit of a spark in him that said, I could go and win this. Is it going to be his? Pace car dives down in. You've got to be quick on this restart. They're waiting a long time for it. There's the go finally. Herrera again, not necessarily the quickest, nor there was David Marquez. We're back to green, 3 laps to go. Barendregt immediately trying to make them move on the high side, trying to move up into 3rd position. Not going to get it through 1, but I've got to be alert here on how they make these moves. Powering around the outside of 2. He'll move up to 3rd, and now give chase. Dronau will come along for the ride. The German bounty hunter is going to try and get another bounty in the biggest one of them all here at Indianapolis. He gets by Herrera going through. They'll have 2 to go as they go through and almost in the wall. Caution, that'll do it. Pereño wins Indy. And it's Ollie Peters who goes around in the 1-2-1. That will confirm this one as a race that finishes under caution. Peters, who was struggling from here to there to everywhere, loses the back end and throws it in the wall. He was unsettled. The back completely steps out, going through 4. And Ollie Peters will get the last caution. Diego Pereño. What a drive he has had. Has been up near the front all day. Has been putting as much as possible together in terms of putting on what has been an incredible race. The question's going to be whether Diego Pereño has enough to make it around the final couple of laps. And if he does, he's got it. But what an incredible drive he's had. He was right up there fighting near the front, keeping it calm, doing exactly what he needed to do. And when he came in and everyone else was trying to sort their final stop out, he'll be the one who gets there. He'll ride inside the safety car for a little bit, and why wouldn't he at this point in time? Of course, here, ladies and gentlemen, he will also be picking up a fantastic plaque here brought to you today, which will be there. And it's those plaques for the top 3 drivers of the championship, and a plaque for the winner of the Indianapolis 100. That will be going Perenio's way. For Thijs Barendregt, he'll be picking up a sculpture of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway to pin up on his wall, provided by Apex Tracks. And, of course, Uncle Luke's sign and sticker shop with the plaque prizes there as well for the other 2 drivers in the championship, which we believe at this point in time to be Alex Everett and Dave Steadman. But what an incredible race that we have found. Cautions galore, yes. Not the cleanest 100 that we've seen, yes. But what you can also say in terms of a charge and a challenge is that this was a tough race. This was a race for many that they had to go around and sort out. They had to work out where they needed to be, head on a swivel at all times. Whoever stayed out late was going to get what they needed if they could just hold on and ride out a couple cautions. A couple cautions came for car 92, Diego Pereño. And the Spaniard, with every reason to be excited, every reason to be in play. David Marquez, by the way, started 24th on the grid. It's going to finish 2nd. What a drive that is. Thijs Barendregt, though, a recovery through the field to get to 3rd after being damaged on the 2nd caution of the race from Jürgen Pedersen. Spare car all the way back. That will go down with one of the great drives in Crest Autosport. But for Diego Pereño, who will round himself through 4th, it will be a Necky Racing Team 1-2. Not quite the 2 drivers you expected it to be at the start of the race. But to the yard of bricks we go. Get your glass of milk ready, Diego. You are a winner of the Indianapolis 100 here with Crest Autosport. Pereño wins from Marquez and from Barendregt. What an incredible race. What an incredible battle. We're going to jump in with Thijs Barendregt right now, who is 3rd position overall, has won the championship. Thijs, you got a championship. Tell us about your initial emotions.
It's crazy. I thought, like, after last year, I knew I would be in the fight for the championship. But to take it like this, it's crazy. I'm sorry for Alex, but man, I'm pretty happy with the championship. I didn't expect it at the start of the season.
Let's just talk about the way that you went through this race in particular, because it looked like it was all over after about 15 laps of this race. You have Jürgen Pedersen run down into the side of you. You have to use the spare car. You have to hope that it stays clean in front of you. And effectively, you got a little bit of luck that got yourself into the prime position.
Yeah, I was pretty scared after... I was in the call with Jürgen as well, and he said he didn't have anything. He didn't have any steering. Like, his fronts were gone, so he also didn't have any braking. So I didn't blame him. But it's just, you have to be a lot more cautious. So there was, like, at some point, there were, like, 2 or 3 packs. And I was just hanging at the back, saving fuel. And every yellow, I was just getting, like, fuel and tires. So I can make it as far as possible. And then at some point... And then at the end, I was like, okay, I have to pit soon because I don't want to fall in a caution trap. And then I pitted, and like a few laps later, the caution came out, and that really helped me with positions, and that put me in prime position to take 3rd.
It certainly did, and well, you look at it right now in terms of what has been an incredible race, and one which you had to try and get through a championship, which pretty much put everything into perspective here on what was an incredible battle from start over to finish. What does that mean to you come the end of a race like this? What does it mean to pick up a championship? What does it mean moving into next season, going in with the opportunity to run the #1 car as defending champion?
It's pretty special, and I'm really looking forward to next season. If we look at a grid as today, like was it 25 people on the grid? That's so awesome, and it brings 26 actually. It brings so much dynamic to a race like this. Like if a caution comes out, you can't just pit and fall back to the end of the queue and overtake everyone in like 10 laps. You really have to think about strategy this way, and it just makes it more awesome. And I think next year is going to be really cool with the people in there, and I'm gonna have a really hard battle with Timothy and with Alex, and I hope it's going to be a really fun battle.
Hope so as well. You will get yourself, though, the model of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, provided by Apex Tracks, as your prize of victory here. But before we let you go, Thijs, to go and celebrate, shout out sponsors. Who gets it done?
Really happy with BRT this season and the past seasons. They've done an amazing job and a really fun group to drive with, and I'm hoping for they stay with me for next season.
Absolutely that. So there you have it in terms of the racing that has gone on for one incredible championship run. Thijs Barendregt there joining us, picking up an all-important battle out there overall. But let's run through the results then. It's Diego here who has got it done. Diego Pereño there. There has been a disqualification or a penalty down late for David Marquez. So that has dropped him down into 13th position late, the Argentine. So it will be Thijs Barendregt who will take second officially by results, with Timothy Stroh third and Fran Herrera in fourth. Tim Doyle will take fifth ahead of Ben Bennyworth in sixth, and Leonardo Paletta seventh will be the last car classified on the leading lap. Pablo Diaz will take eighth. Alex Everett will be classified in ninth after his big incident, bringing out the penultimate caution of the day. DL Lemon rounding out the top 10. Lars Petter Anderson is 11th. 12th will go to Alexander Rogenbach, with David Marquez, as we said, down in 13th. And Nehuen Flores, Ollie Peters, Alfredo Morales, and Dave Stedman 3 laps down. 6 laps down, and we'll start to hit retirements here. Inigo Mardones, Lucas Durejki, and Jürgen Pedersen, with Martin Kenyon, Logan Egan, Michael Poole, Matt Hummel, Ruben Simonite, and Jeremy Pronk, all retirees here in this race. 26 drivers took to this one, and ultimately on the leading lap, just 7 remained, and they came to finish. But we got victors, and unfortunately, when it comes to the championship, we do unfortunately have losers. But a valiant effort from Alex Everett, who joins us right now. Alex, we all knew going into this one it was going to be tough for you. 14 points was always going to be a tough margin to try and overhaul and overcome. But it looks like for you today, in terms of this position, it so nearly came together early on when Jürgen Pedersen had ran himself into Thijs.
Yeah, I thought I'd won the lottery at that point. It was quite interesting. I could have done with Thijs not having a fast repair, but my league, my rules, I put them in. Yeah, the objective didn't change from that point. The objective was still caution to the wind. We got to win this race, because Thijs is very experienced with Indy, doing it in the official races, so I knew he was going to be able to get through the pack, which he did.
He certainly did. And how important was it late on that the focus would change? You had an opportunity with those final stops that came in. You had an opportunity to go out there to challenge, to attack. And just out of 4 there, a huge accident between you and Alfredo that brings out the penultimate caution. Just how shocking was that to you in terms of an incident that, you know, as quickly as Indianapolis can give, it can take?
I'm not going to beat about the bush. I'm extremely unhappy about that incident. Coming off of 4, all drivers lean over to the left as soon as they're on the straight, and I wasn't allowed to move over to the left. And there was a big amount of netcode. Granted, it's a driver from across the pond, so you know there's going to be netcode issues, but you have to give space in that situation, in my eyes, and he didn't. I was extremely unhappy about that, but hey, that's racing. I'm just, you know, I could have prevented things that happened during the season to put myself in an easier position for tonight. But then again, it's just the kind of luck I have been having this season, and that's just the way it goes.
Well, the new season will be a new year. in terms of speak. We'll be coming back in January for that one. But Alex, in terms of that new championship that's coming up, we've got it on the screen right now. How important is this new season going to be? A change of day, I do believe. We've got ourselves 2 road races coming in at Long Beach and Laguna Seca. How crucial is it going to be this new season in terms of bringing together what is a championship, which by all intents has gone from strength to strength this season?
Yeah, certainly has. The drivers that have come in race by race and stuck to it, pretty much all, probably bar 1 or 2 drivers, have stuck around. They've got into this series and they've equally thought, oh, I'm going to hang around here. This is pretty good. So I'm just happy that we're able to put on a good championship. I've had the ambition of hosting an IndyCar series since I got into IndyCars around about 2005. It was the first time I watched the Indy 500, and it was Dan Weldon's win. And from then, I just thought, I'd love to do Indy and sim racing. And it took until now to actually get it going. So to see how big the grid was tonight was, I don't know the words. It just made me really proud. But in regards to the season, yeah, a new challenge with road courses being brought along. 2 very difficult road courses with that, but still the same song and dance, with the majority being oval races. We're trying to be the leading league in IndyCar oval racing on iRacing, and with tonight, that's probably put us into a good position to have that title. But yeah, if you want to get involved, all you need is iRacing, wheel, pedals, iRacing subscription, and you can get involved in the series going to crestautosport.com. Hopefully we'll have a grid as big as this one, but I think after tonight we'll have a lot of drivers coming into this. It's a real good community we've got here, and you should certainly be a part of it.
Well, you heard it, Lionheart. You heard it, Classic IndyCar Series. You heard it. Crest Autosport's on its way. Alex Everett there joining us then. Able to be upbeat, but not quite getting the result that he wanted today here at this fantastic track. But Indy brings us to a close, and what a fitting place, the home of the IndyCar, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, on the streets of 16th Street and Georgetown. And this is an incredible venue to go and watch racing. But this isn't all. When it comes to us here with Crest Autosport, we have that opportunity next year. We're going to be back on it. 25th of January is the time, is the place. Make sure that you tune in with us for that and sign up if you haven't already. But a massive thanks to go to everyone who gets it done for us. Track Racer, 603 Autosport, lovely stickers, Digital Motorsport, Esports Sim, the GP Box, and of course main sponsor Apex Tracks over with us, the motorsport and motor racing circuit wall art racetrack sculpture designers, manufactured using Formula One and motorsports-inspired rapid prototyping technologies. Thijs will get Indy on his wall. He'll have every reason to be excited. That was a well-fought comeback in terms of today's racing. Everett didn't quite fall in his pocket, but he'll have his head up high, knowing that this is a championship going from strength to strength, and that next season, it could very well be a completely different picture in terms of who fights for what. We'll jump out again with you in the new year, as Crest Autosport will bring you all of the action of IndyCar racing next year.